When a married couple decides to part ways in India, they run into a strict legal roadblock. Under Section 14 of the Hindu Marriage Act, even if both spouses mutually agree to divorce, they are required to observe a mandatory one-year separation period before they can legally file their petition. The lawmakers who drafted this statute had good intentions. They designed that one-year gap as a mandatory cooling-off period. The hope was that forcing couples to wait might give them time to reconcile, communicate, and perhaps save the marriage. But that well-meaning logic falls apart in reality when two people recognize instantly, from day one, that their marriage is completely, irreparably broken. Look at how this plays out on a timeline. The law expects a smooth, straight year of quiet reflection. Forcing two people to remain legally bound causes that timeline to fracture into a chaotic web of toxic disputes. This waiting year acts as an incubator. Resentment builds. Spouses demand leverage, turning a clean split into bitter arguments over alimony, real estate, and jewelry. What could have been a perfectly peaceful, mutual separation morphs into an agonizing, multi-year legal battle. And it happens purely because an arbitrary calendar requirement gave the conflict time to grow. Strict adherence to this waiting period actively harms the very individuals the law is supposed to protect. It traps them. Which raises a massive question for couples in this scenario. Does a legal mechanism exist to bypass the calendar entirely? To answer that, we have to look at a specific case out of Gurgaon. A young, educated couple, the bride was 22, the groom 23, found themselves trapped in this exact legal bottleneck. This chart shows the extreme imbalance of their timeline. They were married on February 3rd. By February 5th, they realized it was a mistake and separated. They had lived together for exactly 2 days. But when they tried to file for mutual divorce 3 months later, they ran straight into that mandatory 365-day wall. Their petition was entirely straightforward. They had absolute consensus. There were 0 disputes over property, 0 demands for maintenance, and no arguments over belongings. They simply wanted to hit reset and move on. The Gurgaon family court heard their case and completely dismissed their petition. The judge ordered them to wait out the rest of the year. The lower court wasn't being malicious. They were relying strictly on the letter of the law. They pointed to previous rulings, specifically a 2016 precedent, that rigidly upheld the mandatory separation period without exception. By applying the law mechanically, the lower court created an absurd outcome. They enforced a rule meant to prevent harm while actively prolonging the distress of a couple who had been together for only 48 hours. Refusing to accept a year of forced limbo, the couple escalated. They filed an appeal with the Punjab and Haryana High Court in Chandigarh. To fight the ruling, they relied on Section 151 of the Civil Procedure Code, a specific provision designed for cases where rigid procedural rules create an unjust result. Section 151 grants courts what are called inherent powers. It explicitly allows judges to bypass rigid rules if strictly following them would cause undue hardship or a miscarriage of justice. The High Court looked at the actual facts of the couple's life, rather than just the calendar. They noted both individuals were educated adults. They noted the complete lack of financial dispute. Most importantly, they recognized the absurdity of enforcing a 365-day wait on a 2-day cohabitation. The High Court handed down a decisive ruling. They stated that enforcing the one-year separation in this specific context would serve no purpose other than to prolong the suffering of the spouses. They waived the waiting period and allowed the mutual divorce to proceed. The judges applied simple pragmatism. When a marriage is undeniably dead and both spouses are in total agreement, forcing them to suffer through a statutory waiting period serves no purpose. This August 2018 ruling provides a clear roadmap for how the justice system can handle broken marriages. It stands as a vital legal precedent. It legally empowers couples across the jurisdiction to argue that their mutual agreement should take priority over procedural delays. The courts don't hand this out automatically. You have to meet strict conditions to invoke this precedent. Spouses must be in total agreement, there can be absolutely 0 pending disputes regarding alimony or property, and you must provide a justifiable reason for the court to intervene. But if those conditions are met, the takeaway is highly encouraging. The law is flexible. When rational minds reach a total consensus, the legal system can adapt to reality. The ultimate goal of the courts is fair resolution.
Spouses who agree entirely on how to untangle their lives do not have to sit in a calendar prison to do it.